Visual Studio Code, commonly referred to as VS Code, not Versus Code, is a popular code editor used by millions of developers worldwide. Its relatively small size and low system requirements make it one of the better code editors out there and a great entry point into the world of coding for beginners. Hi, I'm Victor. Let's take a little tour around VS Code today on Height Above Sea Level. If you're looking for Visual Studio IDE, I've covered that in a separate video I will link to the top right of your screen. But in this video, we'll be looking at Visual Studio Code. Those two are a bit different. They accomplish the same thing of writing code, but Visual Studio IDE has a couple more features and more bells and whistles to help deal with certain languages. But for Visual Studio Code, I'd recommend going to code.visualstudio.com and go to Visual Studio Code on Windows, because that's what we'll be covering in this video. But the steps are similar if you're using Mac OS. And you'll click on this link. It will start the download up here to the top right, and it'll take you through the installer, which will, as it says here, will take only a minute. If you've installed a program on Windows, then you probably know how the steps go. They ask you to accept the privacy agreement and the terms and conditions and whatnot. And that's all you have to do. All right, once you've done that, you'll arrive at a screen that looks similar to this one. You probably have some options to your right here with some progress bars and a walkthrough, but mine doesn't have that because I removed it. However, if you want to get back to those walkthroughs, come here and say open a walkthrough. So let's look at the get started with VS Code. Like that. And the first thing we're going to look at is changing your theme. If you don't like this dark theme, you can quickly change it by clicking here. That'll change it to light theme. Go back to dark theme. We can go dark high contrast or light high contrast. And I hope you can see the difference. But what I'm going to do is just click on dark modern. And by the way, these walkthroughs help you get through Visual Studio Code step by step. And as you move along, you can click here to check it and uncheck it if you haven't gone through that step. If you want to do this later on, we've looked at our theme, how to change it. Let's look at the next one, rich support for languages. You can add extensions to VS Code to help with certain languages. You can do so for JavaScript, C++, C#, TypeScript, etc. We'll look at extensions in a little bit, but I'm just letting you know about this step. You can go to Browse Language Extensions, which will open the extensions right here. But for now, we're going to close this and we'll get to that soon. But just bear with me, we're going through everything step by step because this is a beginner video and I want to make sure I cover everything in detail to make sure any beginner, even the one who's never written code, can understand what's going on here. Right, then go to tune your settings. Now, when it comes to settings, you can change things like autosave, the font, word wrap, and word wrap is when the line reaches the end, it doesn't scroll. The editor doesn't make you scroll to see what's in the next portion of the line. It just wraps to the next line. That way you don't have any scroll bars in the editor. So if you completed that, you can take this, click here, and that'll take it or leave it unchecked. Then in order to sync your settings across devices, there's a part here where you can sign in. So if you click it, the setting sync is on, and this is my I've signed in already. But if you sign out like that, be asked to sign out, successfully signed out over there. The thing that happens is that when you sign out, oops, let me just remove this tip. When you sign out, your settings don't sync across devices. So let's say you're using this on a Windows device and you want to use it on a Surface Pro, maybe you've traveled. Without setting sync on, you can't sync whatever settings you've changed in that device. So if you've changed it on your PC, if you go to your Surface Pro while you're traveling, those settings don't sync. So in order to do that, you'll need to sign in. I signed in with GitHub. I just signed out to show you what it's like. Then you can look at the command palette. We'll also take a look at this. This gives you some quick shortcuts, like let's say you want to clear the console or open the terminal or just look for help. You can come here to the command palette. You can click here, or I'll show you the shortcut. Then you can use this to pick a folder, open up your code. You can, it says here you're all set, so you can start coding, create files, create folders and whatnot. And that's it for the welcome walkthrough. I can go to the next section, which is about the fundamentals. Again, it's telling us to code with extensions. Extensions are just packages that add functionality to VS Code. So you can add one for Python, you can add one for C++, you can even add things like code formats like this one here, prettier, and also other things like Vue if you're web development. By the way, I apologize if this is too small. You can zoom in with control plus equals. Let me zoom in so it's bigger. Control plus the equal sign. Make things a bit bigger so you can see it. I think that's better. Yeah, this is better. That's one of the things you can do. I should have mentioned that at the beginning, but if you've been struggling, I apologize. Hope this is better. And then VS Code also has a built-in terminal. I do plan on covering the terminal in a separate video, so please stick around for that. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I will cover the terminal in detail, how to use it, and even things like Git and GitHub. Those are videos that are coming down the pipeline. I hope you subscribe and you will get notified when those come up. Again, here we have Git for version control, if you're into version control. And then you can customize your keyboard shortcuts. Maybe you're using a different editor and you want to use the same keyboard shortcuts. You can add those here by clicking this. It'll open up a window like this to show you all the shortcuts, but I'm going to cover that in a little bit. Right, I think that's it for the walkthroughs. Over here, you can see, you can open such in this panel. You can create a new file. You can open file. I think it's just, let me zoom in one more time, just in case you're watching this on a mobile device. Yeah, that's better. So you can open a new file, open a new folder, clone a Git repository, open the walkthroughs like we've done before. This is what I just did. You want to go back to those walkthroughs and maybe you've closed them like I did. You can just click here and you can connect to other services like a remote repository and so on and so forth. And then in the recent, like you've seen, I've been opening a couple of files. I looked at the finance app and PowerShell. These are all files and folders that I opened and my first mobile app and so on. If you want to quickly go to a previous project that you opened, come here, click on it, and it'll open it for you in VS Code. All right, that is it for the welcome. By the way, if you don't know how to do that, how to go back to that welcome page, you can go here, click help, and it shows you again. And if you click this dialog box, every time you close VS Code and open it again, you won't get this welcome message or this welcome file. But I've kept it on because I wanted to show you what you see when you download VS Code for the first time. All right, before we go on, if you do like this video and want to see more things like VS Code tips and tricks, please consider following me on Patreon at patreon.com/height above sea level. I'll be covering a couple of other things like tips to increase your productivity and things like sticky scroll, code snippets, custom keyboard shortcuts, and more videos including things like C# and even game development later on. So if you're into that kind of thing and also want maybe a few goodies like the Sakura theme app for Visual Studio IDE, please consider supporting the channel at supporting me on patreon.com/height above sea level, and I will be very grateful. Thank you. All right, back to the tutorial. As you can see up here, because I zoomed in, there's this triple dot or these ellipses, which means it can't show everything, so it has to show them in a drop down. If I zoom back out, you can see those are coming back. But for the sake of those who are watching on mobile devices, let me zoom in a couple more times. And even just for you who's watching on a bigger screen. All right, that's it. Now let's look at the nav bar up here. In the nav bar, we have the File tab. In the File tab, just like in other programs, you can open a new text file. If I click this, it'll open a text file, which is just .txt file. You can just write a few words in here. This isn't code. You're just saying it's just a text file. Text only. You're not executing any code. But you can also create a new file. That was a text file. But you can also create a new file of, let's say, a JavaScript file. Let's use a JavaScript file. You can do so with a C#, with C++, but let's use a JavaScript with index.js. .js means .javascript. If you put .cs, that'll be C#. .cpp, that'll be C++. .java, that'll be Java, and so on and so forth. Let's put .js. And by the way, I recommend using folders, but I just want to show you what happens if you create a file that way. So I can press this. It'll ask me where do I need to put it. I'll put it in the desktop over here and it'll be called index. I can create the file like that. I can say something like console.log. By the way, this here is IntelliSense. IntelliSense gives you suggestions when you're typing, like it takes into context if you have maybe variables inside a method, it'll suggest to you the variables that start with C if you type C, variables that start with F if you're typing F. Maybe you have a variable named first name and you're typing F. It will show you all the methods and all the variables with F in the IntelliSense. And it's a really good way to speed up your coding, and it saves you a bit of time instead of thinking, oh, what did I write then? And what was the name of that variable? Well, IntelliSense comes to your aid and it gives you suggestions based on what you type as you're typing. So I can just say console, but console dot log. Log is a method, as you can see with this square. Press tab, curly brace, then I can say hello world. There you go. This is the default theme, these colors that you're seeing here. This blue, log, and yellow, and this orange. But I should have mentioned this earlier. You can also change the theme. Aside from changing the theme in the welcome page like we did earlier, like if I go back to that walkthrough, get started with VS Code, choose your theme, light, and all that. You can also get some from the Visual Studio Marketplace. So if you go to here, we can go to the Marketplace. This is the Visual Studio Code Marketplace, and you can get extensions in addition to themes. So these are extensions like Copilot and View and Sapphire theme. But let's look at just the themes that make VS Code much prettier. Go click here, themes, and give it a second. So these are the themes that you can download for VS Code. You have the Dracula theme. Maybe you can look at Winter is Coming theme. And you can read all this information that you want that will give you more context on what the theme is. And they'll usually have pictures like this. So if you like this color and you like this text, this font, and anything else about this theme, you can come up here and install it. And when you do so, it's going to show up in your extensions area. I don't have anything yet because I haven't installed it. The theme is also an extension. But let's just go back to what we're doing here with creating a file. So this is our JX file, and we've created it. The next thing you're going to look at is a new window. If you want to open, just like a browser, if you want another instance of VS Code, you can go File, New Window, and you see it opens a new window in here. You can expand this, make it bigger, just like you do with Chrome. You can try this with Chrome or Safari, and it'll open a new window for you, just like you see right here. Let me close that because we don't need it. Next, open a file. We can open the index.js file. So let's say this is closed. You can say File, Open File, this one, and it opens it for us over here. And you can do this for files saved in other places in your code, not just the desktop. I'm just using that for demonstration purposes. You can open a folder. You have a folder in here that has code. It'll open there and it'll show over here, no folder opened. So why don't we click here to open a folder? Why don't we create one just to give you a good idea of what it likes working with folders. So open folder, let me create one here. New folder. I can say VS Code folder, like that, enter. And I can select the folder, just like that, and I have VS Code folder. By the way, it didn't open the file. As you can see what happened, that file that had opened is no longer there because we're in a different folder right now. So if I wanted to open it again, open file, desktop, index.js, open, there it is. Another thing I could do is I could say open file, then when I'm here, move this to VS Code folder, like that, and look what happens. It shows there because we're in the VS Code folder. I can just exit out of here and open it this way. There we go. By the way, what you see here is the editor is on editor. So if you open a file, it will also show you the file open inside open editors. So if you have a bunch of files, let's say you have more index.js, you have dashboard.js, and so on and so forth. As you open them, they will show up here. I can even show you how to do that over here. And I'll tell you about this activity bar shortly. So if you want to create a file, you can also click here. Let's call this maybe sandbox.js. You also have to have a legitimate name. You can't just put sandbox dot. So sandbox.js, there we go. And I can also maybe have a variable in here like const name equals VS Code student. There we go. And as you can see, it's coming here as well. So as you add them, they go up, they show up in open editors, and you can close them this way, or you can close them like this, or you can click here to close all editors. So let's say you have this open, close them all like that. And anytime you're not sure what you need to do, you can have you can just hover over this new untitled text file, save all, close all editors. You can just hover over these and it'll give you the context of what you want to do, right? So where were we? We were looking at the open folder. So open folder, you can open a workspace from a file. A workspace is just a project. It's like a project. So if you have a file like index.js is a big file, you can open a workspace from that file. Again, like we did before, open recent. Let me zoom out because it's misbehaving a bit. So I can zoom out with the control plus minus or the equal sign, and I can say file open recent, and you see it comes over here. We looked at the VS Code folder recently, and these are the ones I had that we saw in the welcome walkthrough. So if you have some projects you opened recently, you can just come here, look at the one you want to look at, that you want to open, and then open it. And there you have it, Bob's your uncle. You can add a folder to this workspace. You can save it as, you know how saving works, like in a regular program, you can save it as a name with this name, or you can change the name if you want. But I'm sure if you've worked with a computer, and which you have, which is why you're here, then you know what save as does. You can duplicate this workspace, which is like this project. You can save here just the way you normally save. Let me say console.write line. I can duplicate this with Control C and Control plus V, Control, that's copy and paste. And if I press file, when you see this dot right there, that means changes haven't been saved. You can say save as, save, changes saved. And then if you have multiple, you can have save all. Right, and if you want to share your code, come here, export file. Well, this is the profile that I'm using. Profiles are just over here. You can go to profiles. If you want to have a couple of extensions in one profile, but you don't want to have them in another profile, you can have two separate profiles where you have, like, let me show you. This is the default one that I normally use, just to give you an idea of how things are different. This is my default one with some extensions I've already installed. But for the purposes of this video, I'm using the test one to show you what it's like with a fresh install of Visual VS Code. It zoomed me back out, so I'm going to zoom in again with Control plus the equal sign, or you can just say View, Appearance, zoom in like that. And by the way, the shortcut is also the View, Appearance, and Control plus equal sign right there. All right, so we looked at save as, share. You can have autosave on, and then your preferences, like the theme that you want, the tasks. This is for if you have many commands that you want to run together. You can call user. You can check your tasks that you set up. You can go to the settings, the profile that you've chosen that I just shown you. I have the test profile selected now. The settings that you want to change, and then extensions that you have installed, the keyboard shortcuts that we looked at earlier, and the code snippets. So why don't we look at code snippets real quick? So remember, in JavaScript, you can create a function. I hope you're at least familiar with functions or have an idea of what they are, but let's take a look. Functions, you can press func, and this here is a code snippet. This one with the square, that's a code snippet. So when I press tab, it's going to declare a function for me. And then this area name is going to be highlighted, which means I can edit it. So I can say something. And the first letter is lowercase, second, all letters after are uppercase. That is a convention known as camel case. I have a video for programming naming conventions. I will attach the top right of your screen if you're not familiar with those, but this is the name of the function, say something. And then if I press tab, we'll go inside the curly braces. You see, that's changed color. And I can say call this parameter message, and then I press tab. You'll see the cursor, this area here that has this thin white line. That's where the cursor will go next if I press tab. So I press tab, and now I'm inside the method body. And now I can just say maybe log to the console.log the message that we pass as a parameter here. So we log the message there and a semicolon. By the way, sometimes JavaScript doesn't always punish you for forgetting the semicolon. That's something you should, that's a little fun fact. And you can also adjust this as many times as you like to, based on what you think is best for you. All right, so that's it for the preferences. And if you want to change the theme, you can go to color theme. And if you have themes installed, they'll show up here. So if you hover over this, I believe it'll show me a preview. Is it going to show me? No, but I can click here. Let's see what dark plus looks like. Okay, that's the dark plus. Then you can come back to preferences. Maybe I can look at a different theme like Firelight. Oh, that's very bright. But yeah, that's how you change the theme. If you have those installed, you can come to preferences, and I'll show you how to do something similar with the command prompt. So did I go preferences, theme, color theme, dark. I believe the one I was using was dark plus. No, dark modern. Yes, let me just use the dark mode just because it's easy on the eyes. And I don't want to be blinding you if you're watching this at 11 p.m. at night. That's it for the File tab. What else? Can we look at Exit if you want to exit the application, but I don't want to do that. Close Window if you want to close an editor, which is this one. This is considered an editor. This entire area, anything written inside here is considered the editor, this big area. So if you want to close the editor, you can click there, you can close a folder, you can close a window, and those are pretty much self-explanatory. That there is a File tab. Let's go to the Edit tab. So the Edit tab you can do like you've done so in other programs. You can undo with Control+Z or click here. So let's say I make a mistake. I do a bunch of gibberish, write a bunch of gibberish, come here, undo, it's gone. Again, you can write that and press Control+Z, it's gone. If you want to redo, Control+Y, that is again. Undo, there it is. And then you can cut, Control+X, copy, paste. I'm sure you know how to do these, and I don't need to explain in detail what these do. You can find, let's say you're looking for a certain word here. I duplicated this, but let's say you're looking for the word hello. You can press Control+F. This box is going to show up. Just look for the word hello. And you can click here to make sure it's case sensitive. So right now it's case insensitive. So anywhere it has hello, whether the capital letters or lowercase letters, is going to get a match. But if I want it to be case sensitive, I can click here and then no results. But if I do type capital H, I get 1 out of 2, and I can click these arrows to go to the next match or the first match. And then this one is to match the entire word or not. And you can click this arrow down here to toggle replace if you want to replace the word. And I can say replace it with hi. So you can click here if you want to replace, or you can replace all occurrences. So let me click here, replace this first occurrence, number 1, first one over here. And as you can see, this is replaced with hi world instead of hello. If I press Control+Z, that'll undo it. And then if I want to replace everything, click here, replace all, hi world. Let me undo that, Control+Z. Then click on the X to close it. You can also click escape. Next thing is replace. You've seen replace, Control+H is the same dialog box. Control+H, the same thing if you want to replace, but if you just want to find, Control+F. And this white line, white circle means I haven't saved, so I can save. Always a good idea to save when you're working, just in case maybe the power goes out or you forget or you accidentally, something happens, just Control+S to save. Right, you can find in files. This one also open here. Control-Shift+F, look at that tooltip, Control-Shift+F. You can also open it through here, find in files. Let's say you're looking for a method, like say something method. Maybe you have a project with multiple files and you're looking for the say something method. You can come here, say something. What's going to happen is, let me make this bigger. It'll show you the name of the method, the name of what you're looking for, and which file it's in. So you see, say something is in the index.js. If I click here, it'll show it to me. Even if this is closed, let's say I had nothing open and I come here, I can click here, I'm gonna open the file and highlight to me the thing I'm looking for. Why don't we search for something in sandbox.js, let's say name. So I can come here or edit, find in files, I can look for name. As you can see, inside sandbox.js, and here it is. It gives me a short preview of what I'm looking for. Click it, and there we go. The name thing that I was looking for, the variable, is over here. And that's how you use the find in files. You can also do find and replace in files. Control-Shift+H, and now you can find the dialog right here. If you click on this arrow, it shows a replace just like we did before. But if you click it again, it closes the replace. So if you wanted to replace that in every file, we can say replace that with a first name. Again, this is camel case, first letter of first word, lowercase, first letter of all words after, uppercase. So we can replace this. As you can see also the preview here, name is crossed out and green is what's going to be shown next, first name. Again, replace all. You can hover over this to give you some context. Replace all. Replace all, one occurrence. If there are many occurrences, it'll say replace 20 occurrences, replace 50 occurrences, and it'll show you what you're replacing it with. So yes, I want to replace, click that, replace, first name. So if I had multiple places in the code that have that name, just the word name, that will be replaced with first name. All right. And that's how you use find and then replace. Toggle line comment. In programming, we also have comments that we normally write. It's not code, but it's just there to give us context of what we're writing and why we're writing it. So I can go to index.js. And by the way, if you click it once, it's italicized because this is a preview. You can click it twice to open the file. So click twice. As you can see, the italics changed to regular font style, not leaning over. Click once, italics. Click twice, regular. Right, let me open it, click twice. Then remember what you're looking at, toggle line comment. So if you want to write a comment the quick way, you can do toggle line comment or Control+//. I'll just click here for now. And then you can write a comment. This is comment above the function. Again, I can show you another way with Control+/. This is another comment. All right, go back to Edit tab. We're looking at toggle block comment. So if you want to have a comment that's made of a block, let's say you want to have multiple lines in a comment, you can come here, Edit, Shift-Alt-A, or click here, toggle block comment. And as you can see, this is also a comment. And the difference with this one is you can press enter like this is a comment with multiple, spell that right, multiple lines. If I go to the next line with enter, I'm still in the comment. But the thing about this other one, if I press Control+/, I can say this is one more comment, but if I press enter, this is not a comment. This is now back to the code. You're writing code. That's why I have red underlines, because the compiler is thinking that this is code. It's no longer a comment. So if you want to have comments with multiple lines when you press enter, you can use a block comment like this. Go to edit, toggle block comment. If you only want to have one line, then you can do it this way. But if you want to have it this way where you're constantly putting these /, then you can also do that, but I recommend having this one for multiple comments lines. This is Emmet. It's for writing HTML. If you have something like HTML file, let's say index.html, and you want to have a list of item, an unordered list, and inside it you want to have a list of items 3 times. And if I press tab, you see Emmet expand abbreviation, you press tab. This is Emmet syntax. I'll leave the link to that in the description below. If I press tab, oops, delete that, then press tab. That's what it's going to give me, an unordered list of items like this. It's just a short way of typing quickly or coding quickly, but that's beyond what I'm trying to teach you. I'm just trying to show you VS Code. That's just a little demo I wanted to give you for using Emmet. All right, that's it for the Edit tab. Let's go to the Selection tab. Again, just like you've seen before in other applications, you can select all. So you can press Control A to select all, or you can go to Selection, select all, expand selection, Shift, Alt, right arrow. Expand selection is, let's say you selected this, and if you want to make the selection bigger, you can come here, expand selection, or if you want to make it smaller, you can go shrink selection to what you just selected. I don't really use this because I'll just select everything what I want to select, but if you ever find yourself selected something already, you can add expand selection. If you want to select more, you can shrink selection if you want to shrink selection. All right, and we can say copy line up, the line above us, this one, copy line up. You can also press Shift Alt up arrow. So if the cursor is there, Shift Alt up arrow, I'll copy this line. Then you can also do the same for copy line down, because this is just the same line. It'll copy it down. You can move line up with Alt plus up arrow. So let me use the shortcut, Alt up arrow. You can move it down also. I mean, you can move it up with Alt up arrow. You can move it down with Alt down arrow, like that. You can add a cursor. You can duplicate selection. So, whoops, select it, duplicate selection. So everything in the Selection tab, most of the things here deals with adding, anytime you select things like this. Selection, the things you selected. But you can add a cursor above. So let's say you want to add a cursor above this. Let me duplicate this. Let me have another mention like console.log string like done. So let's say you wanted to add a cursor up to this line. You can go Selection, add cursor above. And now you see you have two cursors. If you want to type something, it's typed on two lines like that. Same thing, you can add a cursor below. So if you're on this line and you want to add the cursor down here, you can choose add cursor below and then add cursor to line ends to the end of the line. You can add next occurrence, Control D. I've never used add occurrence, add next occurrence or add previous occurrence, but I believe that's with selection. You can select all occurrences. I've never used occurrences, so don't worry too much about them. And then you can switch to Control plus click for multi-cluster, which I'm not going to do. It's just the same thing of adding cursors above and below, but now using Control plus click. Never use column selection mode. So it's not a big deal that will make or break your coding experience. Now the View tab. All right, the command palette. I mentioned this earlier before, but if you want to look at all the commands, you can press Control plus Shift plus P, or you can go to View, Command Palette. Let's click it and see what happens. All right, so these are the commands that are available in VS Code. So I recently used this one, and it's telling me I recently used it. If you want to open the help page without going to help and then welcome, you can just go to View or Control plus Shift plus P. Open the command palette and then go down here, help, welcome. What does that mean? Go to the help tab, then open the welcome, click on welcome, and that brings us here. Go to the help, click on welcome, that shows that. There are others like Control, like if I press Control Shift P again, add cursor above, add cursor below. We just looked at these. If you want a quick way to use those commands, you can press Control Shift P and come here and use the commands available to you any way you see how, and based on what it is you're trying to achieve, like add cursor below. I use terminal clear to clear the terminal because I had a bunch of stuff in there. But yeah, Control Shift P gives you the command palette and you can see all the commands. Here's, you can go full screen with F11, open view. Which view do you want to open? Do you want to open something here like the Explorer or the search? If you want to open the search over here, let's click this, open search. Then it just tells you whatever view you want to open. If you want to open the terminal, which I'll cover in a little bit, By the way, I plan on covering the terminal in depth because that requires its own video. So again, please subscribe if you want to see that. Press X to close it like we normally do in all applications. So view, you can change the appearance. Like if you want to go full screen, click here and that's gone. You can't see that up there. If you want to go back, F11 and your menu, your nav bar is back. You can also do things like Zen Mode, Control K plus Z. If you just want to focus on this, like just like the name suggests, Zen Mode, you're fully focused. Control plus K, Control, then Z. That brings me back. And remember the shortcut is right here, Zen Mode. You can have a centered layout. You can have the menu bar, which is the one that I was up here. Now it's gone. And you can click here again. Now it's a hamburger menu, just like you see on cell phones. You can click here again, view, appearance, menu bar, toggle that. Same thing you can do for the primary sidebar. This right here is a primary sidebar. So I go to appearance, primary sidebar, it's gone. You can also press Control plus B again to hide it. If you want more real estate and you feel like it's a distraction and you just want to focus, you can close it and toggle it like that. Control plus B or come here, primary sidebar, there's a shortcut. If you want a secondary sidebar, you can click this and that'll bring one to the right side like here. You want to drag something here, well, not a file, but you can drag a view here to display it. I've never used this before because I feel like it squashes everything and I don't like how it takes up a lot of the screen real estate. So if you want to do that, you can have that there if that makes you happy. Appearance, we can go again to the status bar. This down here is a status bar. Whoops, not that, but this area down here. It shows you what line you're on, what line the cursor is on. So if I go to line 11, see it changes, line 11, column 30, line 14, column 26. And the spaces tell you how many spaces are there when you press tab. So if I come here where the console is, this text, I can press 1, 2, 3, 4, and that takes me to the edge. So it tells you how many spaces are used when you press tab. UTF-8 is the characters that you're using. I won't go into details. And carriage line, CRLF is carriage line, return feed. So that means how the line endings are handled. On Mac, it's going to be probably carriage return, and on Windows is CRLF, carriage return. Carriage line, no, carriage return, line feed. And then over here, it just tells you whether you're using JavaScript, the language you're using, or if you have any notification. Down here, that is the status bar. All right, what else do we have? Back to view. You can toggle the status bar on or off. You see, it's gone. Again, appearance, status bar, where is it? There. All right, the panel is where we have the terminal and a bunch of other things. So if I press Control plus J, this down here is a terminal. So you can look at problems, output, ports, debug console. We'll cover this in just a little bit. But if you want to see this, then you can come here, view, appearance, terminal, or panel, or you can press Control plus J to toggle it. Control plus J toggles it off. Control plus J again brings it back. All right. What else do we have? You can move the primary sidebar to the right. This one, you can move it to the right if you want. Go to appearance. Move it to the right. Where is it? Now it's on the right side. Some people like having this to the right. Maybe if you can even close it. That way you're used to using this when you're using a textbook or an exercise book. You're used to having the margin to the left. Maybe this could work for you. But if you're like me and you like it to the left, you can leave the default. If you like this, you can move it to the right side. I'm going to put mine back at activity bar position or move primary sidebar to the left. Then what else can we do? In appearance, we can look at the activity bar position. This one, you can move it top. Or actually, no, activity bar position isn't that. Activity bar position, I press Control plus B. This is the activity bar. Sorry, this is the status bar at the bottom. This is the activity bar. I moved it to the top. And also I can move it back to the bottom down here, or I can just leave it to where it was before, to default, which is the left here. That is the activity bar. And same thing with the panel that we just saw. You can move it to the left or right. you can align the panel, the tab bar right here. This is the tab bar. So if you have multiple like this open, this section here is a tab bar. So if you go to view, variants, tab bar, you can have single, hidden, and so on. See there, it's hidden. Going to bring it back, tab bar, multiple tabs like that. I'm just going to go through this a little bit faster because most of them are self-explanatory. I just want to give you a quick overview of what it looks like when you change them. Editor actions, positions, you can change the tab bar, title bar, hidden. You can have a mini map. You can turn that on. This here is a mini map. So if you have a bunch of code, let's say you have a lot of lines down here, it can show you where you made an error, or even you can see with these colors that it's giving you an idea of what you type. But if you don't like that and you want more screen real estate, turn that off. That, as you can see, it's gone. You have it. I like it on. Breadcrumbs, like these are breadcrumbs right here. Index HTML, this is right here is a breadcrumb. Maybe let me add a folder, like just folder to give you a better idea of breadcrumbs. And I add index.js, drag it, move, yes. And as you can see, these are breadcrumbs. It tells you the path to how you got to the file you're in. By the way, to create a folder, just click here. Now, if you don't want that, parents, breadcrumbs, no breadcrumbs. If you want to comment it again, parents, breadcrumbs, we have breadcrumbs. Next, we can look at the sticky scroll. Right, sticky scroll is an interesting one. Let's say you have many methods. Let me create a couple like this. Another function, call it another method. And let me have nothing here, press tab. I'm just gonna, let me put a comment, control plus / this is a comment. Then I can just duplicate this like this. Now, as you can see, sticky scroll is on so that I know that all this belongs to this function. Without sticky scroll, let's see what happens. I won't be able to have this stick at the top. So if I go to appearance, sticky scroll, turn that off. As you can see, it doesn't stick to the top. But I come back, appearance, sticky scroll, on, there we go. It sticks to the top to let me know I'm inside this method. All right, next one, appearance, render whitespace I've never used, control, characters I've never used, zoom in like I told you before, zoom out. And if you want to reset the zoom to its default, you can click there. That's it for appearance. And editor layout, I click here to close this. Back to view, you can split the editor. Remember the editor, this section right here. You can split it into multiple views. So if I say editor split up, now we have split it into two. And I can close all to close everything there. You can split it into right like that. Another way you can do that is to click here and it splits it into two. And you can keep splitting and splitting and splitting if you have the screen real estate, but that is something I will not be doing because I don't have the screen real estate. You can say split in group. That opens a group. And you can toggle layout to have it one on top of the other or side by side. And I can close all to get rid of that group like that, or get rid of both of them. And that's it for splitting. These are just splitting. You can decide how many columns you want. 3 columns like you've done before. 1 column, 2 columns, 3 columns. And these are just this is just rely on you to play around and see what you like. And you can have a grid. You can have 2 columns right, flip layout, and so on and so forth. All right, Explorer, Control-Shift-E. Explorer here is just this. As you can see, I hover over that. Control-Shift-E opens that. And search, Control-Shift-F opens search over here. You click it. And the same thing for source control. Control-Shift+G opens here. Source control. Extensions. Source control is for Git and GitHub. If you're using Git for version control, you can come here and it'll show you the changes that you have made. And this isn't a Git repository, so that's why you're not seeing anything. But you can either click here or go to view, source control. When you click run, it just shows you this part, run and debug. If you want to see the run and debug, or whatever it is you're debugging, all the methods, all the variables, it'll show you right here. You can click this, or you can go to view, run, extensions, show you the extensions you have, and you can also click here. Problems, this is in the panel that we opened. This panel here, output, if you are logging something to the console, it goes to debug console. If there's an output, it comes here, the terminal that we just looked at. And if you have any ports, let's say you're running something locally, the ports will show here. Again, you can look at those through this way, toggle them this way, debug console like that. All right. Finally, we have word wrap. So let's say you have a very long piece of text. Let me duplicate this. Control V, Control V, Control V. You see, I'm scrolling to the side. If you don't want that to happen, you can go to View, Word Wrap, and it wraps to the next line. Again, if you go to View, Control, Word Wrap, turn it off, Alt plus Z. Let me press that. Alt plus Z turns off the word wrap, and now I have the scrolling if that's what I was looking for. That is it for the View tab. Now we look at Go. So what happens when you click Go? And go back and go forward. You can also do this. Click here. It's just like going back in the browser. You can click go back or go forward. Click last edit location. You can switch editor to the next editor. Let's say you have 2 of these. Now you can click switch editor, next editor, or you can go to the previous editor like that. You can also have go to file. Let's say you have a bunch of files and you want to go to a particular one. You can go to file, and you can say, it even gives you suggestions. You can go to index.html, to go to that file, or I can go to a different file. Sandbox.js, if I have many files, I can go there. Or you can just press Control plus P and then go to the file. I've never used symbols, so I'm not sure what these do, but if as a beginner, you won't need to worry about them. I've been using VS Code for a while and I've never had any need to use these. Definition, go to definition. All right, let's look at that. Let's say you're on index.js. Maybe you've written a bunch of code and you've called a bunch of methods. Let's say you're down here and we call say something. And you say something. I'm giving up on you. That's a song if you don't know what that is. I hope you found that funny. If you did find it funny, please leave a comment below. So let's say you have this method called say something and you want to know where it is. So you put your cursor there, press go. You can say go to a definition or press F12. So put my cursor there, F12 will take me to where the method is defined. And if I have a variable, let's say I have a constant up here, a const last name, you can say is Smith. And if I say something and pass last name, I can put my cursor here, and this time I'll go to up here, go to definition. It takes me to where this is defined, where I created it. That's go to definition. Then we can also go to declaration. I haven't used that, or type definition. Go to implementation. So let's say you used say something here and you used it in multiple places. You can go, put your cursor on it, then press go to implementations. There it is. It's implemented here. Next one we can look at is go to line column. I've never used that. Go to bracket. I've never used that. Maybe you can try it and see what it does. I don't know why you want to go to a bracket, but maybe, okay. I think you can use it to go to the end of the bracket. Go to bracket. Yeah, it goes to the end of the bracket, but I've never had any use for going to the end of the bracket. I just scroll down. Next problem. If you have many problems on the panel, so Control plus J to open the panel, they'll show up here. No problems have been detected. But if you have them in your code like this, you can press go and it'll show next problem F8. It'll go to the next problem, previous problem, press Shift plus F8. And this I believe is for version control. I've never used it, so as a beginner, I don't think you'll have to worry about this. That's it for the Go tab. Let's go to the Run tab. You can start debugging. If you want to debug this code, then go here, Run, and start debugging. In order to debug, you need to have breakpoints. So why don't we just show a little quick demo of debugging. So in order to start debugging, you need breakpoints. So come over here and you can click to add a breakpoint. And when it's bright red like this, that means the breakpoint is enabled. So if you want to run the debug, you can press F5 or click here. Debugging. Since we've called this method here, we'll hit this breakpoint and we'll see what the debugging session looks like. Run, start debugging, click it. Just use node.js. And as you can see, I can debug what's going on inside this say something method. I know that it might be confusing because the function is declared here and we're using it here, but that's just how JavaScript works. You can declare the function first and then use it. And then when it's called, we go to the function where it's declared and we add a breakpoint so that we see what's going on inside the function. So as you can see, we can also debug. It's logged into the console, hello world. That's from here. So that's not part of the method. But we can see what the message parameter is. If you look up here, message is Smith. Last name is equal to Smith. And that's what we're passing. That's what we're passing as the message. So this is our debug session. These are the local variables, local meaning inside the function. Global variables are, this is just normally things found in the global environment, like the entire, I don't know how to say it, but the entire JavaScript Node.js environment. So you don't need to worry about these too much. Usually the local ones are the ones you worry about, but you can decide to watch a variable. If I want to watch the message variable, let's say this message variable changes a couple of times inside this method. I can keep watch of all those changes here, and I can add it to the watch variable and click X to remove it, or I can click collapse all. And this is the call stack. These are your breakpoints. As you can see, we have a breakpoint here, right here, and it's shown over here. If I click this, it'll disable it. But because we're debugging, we come over here and we enable it. If you want to step over means go to the next line, press here or press F10. And if I want to start the debug session again, Control Shift F5, and it'll go back and hit this. If I want to step into, let's say this was a method. If I want to just step into it, I'd press F11. If I want to step out of the say something method, I'll press Shift F11. Like that, we've stepped out of the method. And if I want to stop the debug session, I can press Shift plus F5 or click here. And that is the debug session. You can run without debugging. So let's say, let me remove this just so we're not confused. And I can comment this out with control slash. So if you want to run without debugging, so say something, will just log the name to the console. And I can run without debugging, Control F5, Smith. So what that means is I called the say something method, which logs to the console the message passed to it. The message passed to it is the last name, which is Smith. So it logs Smith to the console. All right, anything else? You can stop the debugging. We saw that, Control and Shift 5. You can add some configuration for debugging. You can toggle breakpoint. So we have a breakpoint here. Press F9 on this line, this particular line, this one. I can toggle a breakpoint like that. And again, run. We saw step over, step into, step out, and then continue. We saw that in the previous past couple of seconds. You can toggle the breakpoint at F9. You can add a new breakpoint. It can be like a type conditional like we did when we clicked here, or you can right click the add conditional breakpoint, log point, or triggered breakpoint. And I won't go into details what those do, but those are breakpoints. You can add them that way. You can enable all or disable all. So if you have a couple of breakpoints like this, come here. If you want to disable all breakpoints, maybe you want to just run your application without breaking, or you've forgotten where all your breakpoints are, come here, disable all, they all turn gray, and you come here again, enable all if you want to enable them, or if you want to remove everything, remove all. And install in additional debuggers is if you want to debug in different ways, or debug in different ways, or if you want to debug an application that requires a specific debugger, you can install a couple of other ones this way. Click here. The terminal. If you want to create a new terminal, you can come view, and go to the panel. Where's the panel? Is it over here? No. Selection. It should be in view, but I can press Ctrl+J because I remember the shortcut, and then come to the terminal here, or I can go to Terminal tab, and then click on New Terminal right here, and this is the terminal. Again, I do plan to make some more videos on the terminal and go deep into it and what you can do with the terminal, opening files, making directories, and using Git for that. So please subscribe if you want to see that more, see more of that. And you can open multiple terminals too. So this is a terminal, this is a terminal, this is another one. Delete that if I don't need it, delete that. And you can open different ones like a JavaScript debug terminal, PowerShell, Git bash, command prompt. You can run some tasks, like maybe you want to run npm install if you're working with a Node.js environment, for those of you who do JavaScript, or you can configure your tasks. That is a terminal. You can split the terminal. We have them split like this. Or you can also just click here to split the terminal. Maybe you want to have the terminals side by side. I'll just use one the way it is, so I don't really worry too much about that. You can run the tasks, build task, if you want to build the application, run active file, or run selected text. I've never used these before, but they're kind of self-explanatory. If you select a piece of text and you run it, you can do this. You can show running tasks, restart running tasks. I've never used this before, but I believe if you're familiar with tasks, then they're self-explanatory. You can configure your tasks and your default build task. Finally, we have the Help tab. If you need any help, just check in here. If you want to go to the welcome screen again, click welcome. It'll show you your recent ones. You can open a walkthrough. If you want to go back to the VS Code walkthrough that we just looked at the beginning, you can open a file, open a folder. This welcome page will show you everything, or at least the basic things you need to know. And you can come here and see help. You can see all the commands with the command palette that we looked at. Remember, Control-Shift-P. And then you can also do video tutorials. This will take you to the website, VS Code website, to look at video tutorials. Tips and tricks will also take you to the VS Code website. You can go to the YouTube channel, search for feature requests, report on issue if you're having trouble with VS Code. You can check the license, privacy statement, and developer tools if you want to toggle those. And yeah, you can check the keyboard shortcuts. Look at all the documentation on VS Code by clicking here. And that is it on the documentation, or the Help tab on VS Code. That's it for the nav bar. We've already seen this. This is where your files are. The editor, by the way, this is called the activity bar. You've seen the explore. If you want to search for files and rename them, I can delete this. If you want to run and debug, we saw how to run and debug. Git, this is for version control. So if you're familiar with version control, you'll see this here, and it'll show you a number whenever you have different changes. So you can come here. But the one we haven't looked at is the extensions. So if you come here, you'll see all the extensions that you have installed. Popular ones they're just popular. And then the ones VS Code recommend. So you can look at these: Docker, GitLens, GitHub Copilot. If you want to have some AI help with your coding, you can come here. You can have the debugger. So these are some of the extensions you can install. You just come here, click this. Let's say you want to use Python. Let me remove this. It gives you the details. If you want to look at, read this, what the extension does, the support, and extensibility and all that, the features that it has, the change log, all the changes that have been done, the extension pack. And then you can come here and you can click on this down arrow. You can install a pre-release version or a release version. And then it's usually very simple. Sometimes you have to restart the VS Code editor for them to take effect, but normally you just click here and it starts working. Why don't I show you how to use one? Install one. I'm going to look for material icon theme. Material icon. This is one of the extensions that, oh, there we go. It showed an error briefly, but that's fine. This is the one that I like. I'm going to install it for this profile just so you can see what it looks like. So you come here. Oh, and by the way, keep track. As you can see, these icons over here, they'll change once this is installed. As you can see, I've installed it. The icons have changed. Much nicer than the default ones that come with VS Code. So I changed something. That file icon theme. Oh yeah, I have to click this to change it. So I set file icon theme to this, and that changes it. There's usually a couple of steps, but if you're lost, just go to the details page or click on the extension, and it'll show you what you need to do to enable it. You want to uninstall extension. As you can see, we have this installed. You can come here, uninstall, disable it. If you want to just disable it, let's uninstall and see what happens. I can see this is restart extensions to complete the uninstallation. Okay, restart it. And then we go back to our file, go back to what we had before. That is pretty much it for the VS Code introduction. I hope, is there anything I've missed? We've looked at the nav bar, we've looked at the activity, we've looked at the status bar, activity bar, we've looked at the sidebar, this one, we've looked at the other sidebar. I believe you're pretty much good to go. You can also use these to toggle primary sidebar like that, toggle panel. You can also click up here, toggle secondary sidebar, and even customize the layout based on what you want. This is all things you can play around with. You won't need them to begin with, but you can play around with these all you want, and you can configure VS Code to work exactly the way you want it to work. And that's it for the introduction. I hope this gave you a bit of a good intro into VS Code, and I hope that you learned something. Again, please support on patreon.com if you want to learn more about the VS Code functionalities, the tips and tricks. I want to go really deep into some of the things that you need to help you improve your productivity and make you a better programmer overall. So patreon.com/high-to-buff-level. And thank you so much for making it this far. If you haven't subscribed to YouTube yet, please consider subscribing. Ask your questions in the comments below if you have them. And please remember to join Discord if you want to chat more about this outside of YouTube. I do plan on streaming on Twitch again, so if you want a more live coding experience, a more interactive experience, please follow me on Twitch at AvatarVic. The link will also be in the description below. That's all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, from me to you, Duke says.